What's your favorite zombie remake? This remake proves that you can make them without embarrassing yourself. Move over, Walking Dead. The Crazies does Small Town Apocalypse way better. It's day 94 of 365. Today's movie, The Crazies. This one's directed by Breck Eisner and starring Tim Olyphant and Radha Mitchell. This one is peak zombie movie to me. No hate on Mr. Romero, but I actually believe this one tops the original as far as executing the vision of the story goes. Nothing but respect on the Romero name, but I really feel that this one tightens things to a point that I can't imagine seeing this story any other way. Seeing it in 2010, I was blown away that a zombie movie could make me scared of zombies. As I mentioned in the Zombieland episode, I actually enjoyed that movie because it was a comedy, because they had moved away from the slow-moving, not scary zombie thing that had built up to that point. This was one of the first times since, I think, 28 Days Later that I was genuinely frightened of what was happening in the movie. Sometimes I end up just feeling like, just run faster, that's what keeps a zombie movie from being scary to me. So for this one to come along and show me that there was still gas left in the zombie tank, I was blown away. On my recent rewatch, I had forgotten how visceral it was and how clean the camera work was. Sometimes that's all you need to get a really, really grounded story, but on top of that, we have average all-around Americans as our main characters. They play people that you would love as your neighbors, that you'd go get a beer with, and that to me adds to the scary factor that you're just frightened of what might happen to these good people. There's just a lot to love here, so let's break down the 3 things that I loved about The Crazies. The first thing that I love so much about this movie is the truck stop sequence. This one is genuinely horrifying to me. It tops movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre as far as centralized location, just trying to outwit someone trying to kill you. There's nothing over the top here. There's no powers, there's no magic, there's nothing but the tightening and the ratcheting of tension that has been building to this point. We've seen the absolute craziest shit go down across this movie, and now we're in an environment and in a location where we never know what can get used against our heroes. That's so scary, but then on top of that, we know that we're coming to a really apocalyptic end. There's no way else for this to finish up. We've kind of been cornered to this point, and cornering your audience psychologically is a really interesting thing to do to me. It always makes me feel that much more viscerally, like my butthole's just so clenched to get out of the situation, and I want nothing bad to happen to these characters that I've learned to love across this movie. Like I said at the top, they're average all-American Joes. We don't want anything bad to happen to them because they represent me. And so to see this kind of scary stuff happening in an environment that I'm very aware of, I've been in hundreds of truck stops in my life. That's what's so crazy about the sequence. It hits home while still being genre, sci-fi, over the top, and really weaves that super well. I'm very impressed by that finale. The second thing that I love so much about this movie, I actually mentioned in the first point, and it is the ratcheting of tension. Every single tension scene in this movie is a masterclass in how to crank things from 0 to 100 without ever breaking your audience totally. There's always payoff, just enough that we get the kind of genre this is going to be. It's a gory, visceral zombie, non-zombie movie. But to get there, you have to have it be believable for the audience. You have to set things up and pay them off in a way that makes it feel that much more visceral. That's the one thing I think missing from Romero's version. He does tension across a story very, very well, but scene to scene, things feel slow. That's just a side effect of the time. The ratcheting is something that we learned across cinema on how to make these cuts faster or slower, how to pull in and out, how to move the camera within the sequence. And when you have this much more budget and this much more time, it's a lot easier to do. I'm not putting any blame, again, on Mr. Romero, nothing but respect on his name. I just think that this movie does it so well that when we're seeing sequences with pitchforks and nail guns, this stuff is so over the top and visceral without it going anywhere near that kind of camp element. This feels real the whole time, and I have to give it props for that. The third thing that I love about this movie, and I mentioned it a little in the last section, is the non-zombie zombies we have here. Now, this is an important distinction to make. Zombieland made this distinction. 28 Days Later also falls into this distinction. But there are movies where we have zombies that are just infected people, and then we have movies that are zombies that have resurrected from the dead. Now, this doesn't really make a difference to the plot of the movie usually overall. Honestly, I'd love to see something that does make use of that within the plot. But this is one of those movies where these are infected people, not resurrected zombies. And because of that, it tends to land in the scarier side. There's something more frightening about the contagion element, I think, that makes these kinds of movies work better. 28 Days Later, The Crazies, those are tied for me as far as like the scariest zombie movies. But they're not technically zombies, and I know this will bug a lot of people unless I call it out. So if you're already in the comments saying, they aren't technically zombies, I beat you to it. I made it one of the points in the video. I promise I know. But they're still close enough that we see it as part of the same genre, and I think that's worth bringing up. Romero very specifically does zombie movies where they are reanimated dead bodies. That's frightening in and of its own right, but also not usually used well. There's not many scenes placed in a graveyard where there are bodies that could come out and take people out. So I don't know, there's gotta be a way to make movies that make the plot centered around that in an interesting way that is scary and less shambling and less slow because of rigor mortis, you know what I mean? But what do you think? Are you a fan of The Crazies, or did you skip this one because remaking Romero is a no-no? This ends our cop trilogy, finally, A Cab Till I Die. So let's shift gears into Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, and I'll see you tomorrow.